The Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference is coming to Dallas, Texas, February 16, 17, and 18 in 2018. If you know of a better way to get the latest insider knowledge about crypto, to hear directly from the top minds in this field, to interact personally with 800 fellow crypto lovers, hodlers, investors, miners, traders, developers, and founders, then I'd like to hear about it. If you don't, then you don't want to miss out. Register today for the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference. Go to bitcoinsuperconference.com and register today as a super early bird to get the lowest rates on tickets and hotel rooms. That's bitcoinsuperconference.com.
Welcome to Almost Here, Round the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Future technologies poised to transform our lives for better or worse are the focus of this podcast. Almost Here means these technologies are now here and starting to be used, or just around the corner, from Bitcoin to artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.
Hello and welcome to the Future Tech Podcast, everyone. My name is Josh Thomas, and I'm here with Zach Lebeau from Singulardtv.com. Hey, Zach, how's it going?
It's going great, Josh. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Singulardtv, I've heard, is a decentralized entertainment economy built on the Ethereum protocol. Now, that's a lot of words. How do we break that down into simple terms?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of people ask me, especially when describing blockchain technology and what we're doing, to explain it as if they were 5 years old. The challenge is that blockchain tech isn't really for 5-year-olds yet. So, I mean, those days are coming. But I'll try to be as concise and simple as possible, really. What Singulardtv is doing is we're releasing a suite of development, production, and distribution applications, really that utilize the revolutionary aspects of blockchain technology. And the one that has impacted us the most is the fact that blockchain technology allows for a convergence of data and network in the same space. And that's never happened with computer architecture before. It doesn't exist on the internet as well. So what that basically allows us to do is by developing on the Ethereum protocol, we can create tokenized ecosystems and tokens that we can program with intellectual property, which basically allows artists and creators control and management over their rights, their revenue, and their royalty stream without the need of gatekeepers and intermediaries extracting value from their expression.
Okay, so this reminds me a little bit about the music industry underwent a transformation 15 to 20 years ago because of Napster. Napster basically said, hey, we're going to take all this music, we're going to put it out for free. And then the music studios said, no, wait a minute, we got to collect our paycheck. And then the artists, same thing. And ultimately what happened is, it totally changed the economic model of the music industry away from record sales as a profit source and more towards, live events and merchandise and those sorts of things.
Right.
It sounds like you're trying to usher in the next phase of that to where, the music studio no longer has that overbearing control over the artist, and the artist can just decide for themselves. Talk to me a little bit more about, where that, first of all, is that a correct assessment?
Yeah, definitely. That sounds extremely accurate. The inspiration for Singulardtv and all of this really started in 1997, long before blockchain technology. And that was when David Bowie launched himself on Wall Street and created Bowie bonds. And these Bowie bonds basically were the promise of his future royalties. And it was pretty much something where those in the know on Wall Street could only participate. But when my partners and I discovered blockchain technology, we realized this was the next step to that. We could actually have true democratization, this new type of reciprocal relationship between artist and creator. And what we're doing right now is, we launched our first couple applications, artists and projects, just a couple weeks ago. And one of the most important steps is really creating your own tokenized ecosystem and token that represents your project and your intellectual property. Now, in the legacy world, business structures are known as LLCs and corporations, but in this new paradigm with blockchain technology on Ethereum, with Singulardtv, the new kind of business structure is called a tokenized ecosystem. So what basically happens is when an artist creates their own tokenized ecosystem, embeds their intellectual property, their rights, their revenue, their royalty streams into tokens, they can now distribute those tokens to their fan base. And this is where that new reciprocal relationship actually begins to occur. Because right now, if we like our favorite song or our favorite television show, and we go around to our friends and family telling everybody about it, you got to listen to this, you got to watch this, and they go and do it, we really don't benefit from that right now. But if we hold those artists or that project's tokens, and we go out and tell our friends and family to go watch or listen to this, and they do, then the value, the revenue, the money that they spend on that will be embedded pro rata in those artists' tokens, which you hold, that you can either instantaneously withdraw or store.
Okay, and so it's a way for it's kind of a sophisticated affiliate system where I know of an artist and I want to tell you about this artist, and if you go and consume their material, then I benefit from that and some kind of fractal increase in the value of my tokens.
So a couple weeks ago, November 9, actually, we launched electronic dance musician and producer Gramatik. And Gramatik is very well known all throughout the world. He plays over 200 shows a year. He has a really passionate international fan base, and we used him as a test case. So we created a tokenized ecosystem around his brand, and what he basically did was released 25% of his tokens, which represent his IP, to the public on the blockchain. And he was looking for $2.25 million for that 25% to raise money for his next albums, for some short films, and for a number of other things that he'd want to do, and as a producer for some other up-and-coming talent. So that 25%, and he kept 75% in reserve, so that really acts as it creates a market cap for him of about $9 million. So anytime that he wants to continue to create, he just liquidates tokens from his reserve, and then he's off creating a music album, a film, whatever. So the entire point is that he takes that $2.25 million, creates as much content as possible, puts it on his blockchain distribution channel, and the more content you have on your distribution channel, hopefully the more audience you have interacting with it, the more revenue generated. The more revenue generated and embedded in the token, theoretically the demand for the token increases because its value increases and the market cap of its entertainment economy increases. So really it's all about taking the gatekeepers and the intermediaries out of the equation when Gramatik wants to create. It's definitely a more reciprocal relationship between him and his fan base now. And under this model, we're also producing television series, episodes, seasons. And what we're looking to prove with this model with regard to television is that if we can generate an audience right from the beginning and create a reserve, a market cap for the television token, then theoretically a television show won't have to be canceled as long as there is the audience base there that supports it.
Well, it still has to be good.
Yeah, that's something that good storytelling, great storytelling is a constant. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's interesting because you've given a good use case here where I stopped watching TV long ago because it was just terrible. It's just boring and regurgitated cop shows and doctor shows, and I just get tired of it. But the reason they do that is the same reason that the movie industry is putting out comic book movies and sequels to other movies and sequels to comic book movies, and that's basically all you can go see now, is because they are risk averse. These things are expensive, and when they take a risk, a lot of times they just lose a whole bunch of money. And so the TV industry does, cop shows and doctor shows and the procedural CSI type stuff, and you just see a million iterations of that and nothing really original. And then some of them make it and some of them die. But the reason is they're basically just guessing. They don't know what people want. They don't know what people are willing to even invest their time in. And so what you're proposing here is democratic from the beginning. If nobody wants to watch this show or this concept, nobody will fund it. Nobody will invest in it, and it'll die before it ever makes it to the pilot episode. Am I understanding kind of what you're proposing here?
Yeah, definitely. And the first few applications that we launched a couple weeks ago is called token.io, and that's basically the project creation application, but also it has a Kickstarter-esque component too. And if you go to token.io, Tokit.io, you can see the first wave of projects and artists that we've launched. You can check out their campaign pages. You can read about what they're doing and what their raise has been. And there's also some videos on there that dive in a little bit more about who we are and what we do. You're spot on right there. And the premise that we're operating under is that with technology becoming better, cheaper, with formats, entertainment formats changing and altering, we're operating under the present premise that in the next 10, 15 years, there will be more entertainment content created and generated than in the entire history of recent entertainment throughout the 20th century until now. And it's that catalog of IP that we are most interested in managing and administrating. One of the reasons Napster had so many problems is they were taking rights generated from other businesses and exploiting those rights, or just distributing those rights without a license and really with no benefit to the rights holders. We're doing something completely different by containing the rights on the blockchain from development to distribution. So rather than us going out and trying to build bridges to Spotify and iTunes and distribution houses and things like that, we're building our own alternative completely on the blockchain. We definitely don't want to incentivize or empower these other platforms out there that notoriously extract value from the artists and basically making them their own indentured servants while the platforms and the audience reap the greatest benefit. What we do is put the creator in the middle, and then everything orbits around that.
So you gave me an example of Gramatik, who is someone who's already using your platform and has had some amount of success. What are some of the challenges that you see in the immediate future to facilitate a larger adoption of this platform? What are some of the things standing in your way?
Yeah, the biggest challenges are that we're making all of this up as we go, because the tools even to build the applications don't exist. So we have to build the tools just to build the applications. This what we're building basically are smart contract systems and series of smart contract systems that have never existed before. And this takes time, and there's a lot of trial and error. We've made a lot of mistakes this year building a number of things, but I guarantee you we won't make those same mistakes again. We'll make a whole nother wave of mistakes. But it's really that blockchain technology is so young. That's the biggest barrier right now. And also there's a scalability issue with blockchain technology and Ethereum. So we have to create hybridized applications that are partially decentralized and use decentralized computing, but also there's centralized architecture mixed in there as well. Another huge barrier or challenge we have is education. We're not so worried about the user base, the audience, who are going to be watching projects, the film, the TV, listening to the music on our distribution portal, because that's going to mimic pretty much most other distribution portals out there. You won't need to know anything about blockchain technology or the crypto sphere to use our distribution portal. But it's the artists on the other side, their managers, their lawyers, their accountants that we've had to educate, or that we are educating into what a tokenized ecosystem is. How can we possibly embed your IP in tokens? what does that mean, etc. So education is a big component on the artists and creator side.
I would think another thing to look out for is in order to really get the largest well-known artists of today, it's certainly possible to find independent artists who would adopt this, and there are several out there, several high-profile artists that are independent and they don't have a record label, so to speak, but a lot of them really do. And aside from the distribution, they get a lot of perks from being associated with that label, invitations to private events, facilitating their concerts, and there's all of these different things that a music producer or distributor does for the artist. And have you thought about how to really overcome the hurdle of not being in the cool kids club anymore? Basically, you're on your own if you're into this system.
Yeah.
You're on your own, which is a good thing, but you're on your own. And it's kind of a bad thing sometimes if you don't get that back end support.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because we're definitely not trying to compete with the established industry. We're pretty much creating our own alternative. We're pretty much throwing our own party, so to speak. But our access has been pretty interesting so far. I mean, the International Emmys just happened here in New York City, and we're on a panel moderated by Paul Vigna of the Wall Street Journal, and we were invited to the International Emmys award ceremony, and we had our own table there, and we even sponsored it. So, we're lucky with our marketing and publicity contacts that we do have some interesting access into a lot of the entertainment sizzle out there that apparently is so important for marketing and publicity. But really, what we're building is for those artists that have felt certain pain points and for whatever reasons don't want to be a part of that industry. And since launching Gramatik, since launching a few films and the television pilot and other things that you can see on token.io, we've pretty much been deluged by a number of high-profile filmmakers and producers and musicians from around the world. So many actually that we really have to be selective now because we just don't have the time, energy, resources, and personnel to be able to accommodate all of them. So it's exciting what the future is going to bring here, but it's definitely going to be a long, hard road.
Well, it's always a good problem to have too many people wanting your help, for sure.
Yeah, we just have to make sure we don't drown an opportunity, because if we do spend our time, energy, and resources in certain areas that aren't path of least resistance, or with artists and projects that don't have more of that decentralizing mindset, that's really crucial at this stage, then yeah, it could be definitely burdensome.
So you mentioned just a minute ago that the future is bright, but it's a long road ahead. What do you see the vision of this company in, let's say, the next 1 to 5 years? Where do you hope to land?
Well, what we're doing right now is we're onboarding a lot of independent artists in several different mediums who have felt the pain points for whatever reasons. So we're going to continue to do that so that they can contribute their content to our distribution platform. But also, we're talking with a lot of producers and production companies, even a couple studios we've entered into NDAs with, to really sort of create architecture, to create systems to manage their very large libraries of intellectual property, because it's so inefficient the way rights management is performed today. So we'll definitely have a huge amount of public-facing, more the retail for the artist approach, but we also do have a lot of biz dev enterprise going on, behind closed doors. And when you look at other companies out there, when you look at the big giants like Netflix, I mean, Netflix really is this train barreling down the tracks. It's on fire and it's headed for a cliff. It's headed off of a cliff. Its business model just isn't sustainable. It's spending billions and billions of dollars a year on content. It's going in debt. It's having to restructure its debt and borrow even more just to pay off its debt. And 5-10 years from now, it won't be able to continue that. And we'll be looking for more sustainable economic models out there. And we believe blockchain technology and what we're building are those sustainable entertainment economic models. So we look forward to helping Netflix onboard to the blockchain, possibly in about 5 years.
Lofty goals, to be sure. I'm excited about the opportunities you have here. This is Zach Lebeau from Singulardtv.com, the Decentralized Entertainment Economy, otherwise known as the Blockchain Studio. Thanks very much for joining us. Any final thoughts for our audience before we go?
Well, Josh, thanks so much for having me. And yes, those out there listening right now to this, if you are interested in blockchain technology, if you're interested in Ethereum, the best thing you could possibly do is get involved. So go out there, start a wallet, start roaming around the crypto sphere, and it's really important. This is a mindset. It's more than just technological innovation. We're at 1994, 1995 of the internet revolution in blockchain terms. So the number one thing is just dip your toe into it or take that deep dive, but get involved and figure out how blockchain technology is relevant to you in your life.
Well said. Once again, thanks very much, Zach Lebeau, SingularDTV.com. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much, Josh. Bye-bye.
The Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference is coming to Dallas, Texas, February 16, 17, and 18 in 2018. If you know of a better way to get the latest insider knowledge about crypto, to hear directly from the top minds in this field, to interact personally with 800 fellow crypto lovers, hodlers, investors, miners, traders, developers, and founders, then I'd like to hear about it. If you don't, then you don't want to miss out. Register today for the Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Blockchain Super Conference. Go to bitcoinsuperconference.com and register today as a super early bird to get the lowest rates on tickets and hotel rooms. That's bitcoinsuperconference.com.
You have been listening to Almost Here, Around the Corner Future Technology podcast with Richard Jacobs. Subscribe to this podcast, post a review to discover more future technologies that are poised to transform our lives for better or worse, such as Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, 3D printing, blockchain, virtual reality, and more.